I'm guest host Candace Bellamy, and I have an incredible guest with me, someone I have known since 2020, though we've never met in person because she lives in the UK. And so I would love for her to introduce herself and tell us more.
Hey everyone, my name is Esther Jacob and I'm the founder of Authentic Publishing. It's amazing to be here and I'm really humbled to be talking about my latest book, The Becoming Woman with You All. I'm also an author of 7 books, this being my latest edition. And I'm so excited to be teaching about what it is to become the becoming woman in the 21st century.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to take us back just a little bit because you have authored several books. You have helped other writers get published. And I remember when we first met again back in 2020 via Zoom, and you were sharing your story, just how amazing your story is, what inspired you to do what you do. And could you take us back a little bit? I know some people probably know already, but for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about your journey leading to now.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the journey started from finding my identity, finding out who I was and how I can utilize, delete, and what I could do to contribute to the community. So that was through really understanding the beauty of writing. So during my university season, I was in the process of balancing my part-time role with finding a job. Because at that time, I thought that that was the way forward. Everyone's finding jobs after university, so I thought to follow suit. But a couple of years later, I realized that there was more in me, and I decided to utilize every word that was on paper and turn it into a book. And those words started from thoughts that inspired me to think about what I went through during my days of building up my life up till now to give back to the community. And that was through expressing words of encouragement, words of hope, words of motivation. And that kept me going on the journey. And that's what enabled me to publish my first book, It's Time to Heal. And every single year, from the years of 2016 onwards, one book has been published each time. And it's been so inspiring and humbling to see that the growth has been immense. And then fast forward 2 years later, I decided to create a business called Authentic Worth Publishing to encourage men and women to express themselves and share their stories in the forms of books. And we're still doing this up till now. And it has been 5 years that we've been running in October. And the vision has expanded, not just with publishing books, but creating memberships for aspiring authors and business owners, helping others produce and publish their books, and seeing how far that they've come in their journey of expressing their story to the community. And therefore it's encouraged me and pushed me forward to do more accountability coaching calls, more one-to-ones, more group activities, and more face-to-face networking events. But ultimately realizing and remembering that we have so much to give. And throughout the journey of me building my life, the one word I can say is that I've given value. Value from a personal perspective, value from a professional perspective, value from a community-based perspective, and really understanding what it is that the community needs to give back encouragement, inspiration, and hope. So far, that's been the journey, and I'm expecting to see what the future will hold.
That's wonderful. So now tell us about this book you recently published, and congratulations, this is your 8th book?
And my 7th book.
The 7th book. I mean, still a lot of books, but tell us about this book.
Wow, thank you so much. I wouldn't even know where to start because I can't pick one subheading, but it has to be more of a whole kind of concept. But if you look at the cover, it's very easy to assume that this was an easy journey, that it's about a couple, they've just gotten engaged, how, happy days, they don't have anything to worry about. But this took a lot of work. This took a lot of inner work, inner healing, inner motivation, inner confidence. This book really is about how a woman can evolve on the journey of becoming who she is in today's society without feeling the pressure of changing who she is. It's a woman that is waiting for the right time to be found, to be seen, to be loved, to be acknowledged by the right person. Now, I'm a really strong advocate of ensuring that women understand their worth and the value that they bring into the society. It would be wrong to not remind women of their value, their queendom, their strength that they have, because women are powerful. Women are powerful. And I
Yes.
don't think we have enough credit for that. And it's really important that we are able to share our stories authentically and organically and unapologetically. I want to just quickly read a bit more about this book and then we can go into depth about it. So, About the Becoming Woman is about the author who takes us on a journey of seasoned endurance and expectancy. So, when I think about the word seasoned endurance, it's someone that is patient and long suffering, someone that is willing to go through the enduring stage of waiting, but also being expectant for what is to come. So, think about it. You're really hungry, but you know you can't eat at a certain time. The moment 6 or 7, for example, hits, you're so excited that that food is going to hit very well. So we know that in life, we are always waiting for something, but it takes time to wait for the best blessings. And I stated here that it challenges the reader to own their season and position themselves to greater levels of growth. The author prepares the reader to measure their own progress and embrace change in getting ready for the season of courting. So again, we have to start with looking at our hearts, looking at ourselves. What areas in our lives do we need to improve first? I mentioned in my book launch just last month that becoming a woman is about looking at who you are becoming. Are you becoming better or are you becoming bitter? It starts with you. Then I stated here that before we enter the courting stages, there must be a mature awareness of where the becoming woman is positioned. Is she content in her life's journey? Only she knows. We are the only people that know whether we are content or not. And sometimes it can show through the way we speak, through the way we complain. Are we grateful? Are we murmuring all the time? Only we know. The reader will be bold to examine triggering moments as each page is turned, building her stamina, character, and integrity to be sustained in testing times. There will be testing times. I don't think anyone right now is having it 100% easy, and that's okay. I do believe those uncertain moments really humbles us and prepares us for what is ahead. Because if we want to go higher, we have to be prepared to pass the test of now. So I stated here that the becoming woman is a continuous assignment that can't be substituted with instant gratification or environmental pressure. So think about society, what we see online, things that are becoming so quick to adapt, people wanting to entertain instant gratification and not embrace delayed gratification. Sometimes we think delayed gratification is bad, or it's slow, or it's boring. But we need to remember that as we are getting better and as we are growing and as we are evolving, we must understand that it takes time. Just like you're cooking a really great roast. It's not a McDonald's quick meal. It takes time to cook, or you're making a cake from scratch. You need to use the right ingredients. You're not just going to put everything in the oven and assume that it will just come up as a cake. No, we don't want to entertain this fast food lifestyle. I stated here that she knows that evolving has its rewards and will come as she patiently waits well. Study and reflect on the becoming woman to help you understand what the waiting season is teaching you to prepare you and increase you for greatness. To empower the woman next to you is to understand her story before speaking and giving her time to flourish. It takes time for us to flourish. It really does, because everyone is not the same. Some people can flourish quicker than others, but it doesn't mean that they're better. They are just able to manage their emotions properly. They're able to manage their intelligence properly. They've learned how to master what they go through rather than allowing it to master them. And lastly, I stated here, no matter the stagnation and what you are going through, the becoming woman releases you from within to experience and enjoy wholeness in transition. And it's that wholeness that we want to get to. There's the level of satisfaction of, you know what, I'm in a good place and I'm in a place of peace. Even though I know things aren't correct and things aren't 100% great, I'm grateful and I'm thankful that I'm in a place where I can accept my fate. It's not to say that we accept ourselves and just don't think of higher levels of growth and promotions and progressions, but we're saying that we are grateful to be where we are, but we are still gradually growing on the journey. And that's what the becoming woman is about in a nutshell. So yeah.
I think you mentioned to me too that you not only had, women contribute to this book but men as well. Is that correct?
It is, yes. So one of the chapters is called, for that part, is called The Becoming Gentleman. So I wanted to give men an opportunity to express themselves and talk to us about what it is from their point of view, how to position themselves as a becoming gentleman. What does it mean to become a becoming gentleman in today's society that is very quick and judgmental to assume that, there are men that just don't work hard, or they're too focused on themselves, they're too focused on their cars. But we must understand that aside from the possessions, there are great men out there that do want to settle down. There are great men out there who want to say, I want to meet someone, I want a life partner, I want to continue the legacy. So 4 men have contributed to this book anonymously, and there have been men that have spoken about their marriages and how they've coped during the stage up until marriage and what it means to become the becoming gentleman in their environments, and then men who are also in the courting stages and those who are single. So I tried to basically find different people in different environments and situations that can talk about their experiences to give back to us as women on what we need to learn about men. Because I do believe that there are some things that we also need to learn about men, the same way there are things that men need to learn about women. So it's about understanding what it means to be a becoming gentleman and how they can contribute to their growth as a man and how they can lead the woman. Because of course, men are the leaders. We are the ones that abide by them. We are the helpers, but they are the ones that should be leading us in the right path. So that's what I've decided to do with this book, because I just didn't want it to be just focused on women. I wanted women to understand a man's point of view about being a becoming man in today's society.
Oh, absolutely. Interesting thing that you mentioned about women being the helpers and men being the leaders. Yes, because I know that's biblical. And if you're, practice Christianity, that's definitely, what we believe. But what if you're somebody that as a woman, you don't believe that, or you've never felt like you have met a person that you would follow their lead? What is there something that you would offer them? Not to put you on the spot, but I think it's important, especially in the world we live in, where we see so many women in these very, strong roles in these leadership positions, to say that we're the helpers when sometimes we're leading. How do we find that balance, and how do we create these relationships that we want to have?
That's a good question. I think it does depend on particularly what one has been through and their upbringing and what they've been exposed to, number one, and really understanding that everyone's relationship, whether by themselves or with others, won't be the same. So there has to be a level of understanding and grace in that respect. But for someone who may not be a believer and they're wondering, what is my purpose of allowing a man to lead my life, or what can I do to become better? It's really about understanding who you are first. So you need to understand who you are, what you believe you do best, and what you believe you don't do as great, and find ways to get other people to help you. Because no matter who we are, as women and as men, there are things that we just can't do by ourselves. We would need helpers along the way. although there are some women who are very confident, they're very talented in being able to multitask, and I really honor and salute them. I know people who really work hard in being a mum to their children, and they are doing amazingly well. But at the same time, I can imagine it may not be as easy, and particularly if you're doing it by yourself. So of course, you would need that shoulders to lean on. So again, it does depend on your upbringing, what you've been through, and how open you are to receive that help and that support as well. I believe it's really important that when you do need support and help, you are able to seek it out. And whether that is through communicating, speaking to someone that you trust. And I would honestly recommend communication. It's something that at times we don't want to do because we're fearful of being judged or worried about what people will say. But just be yourself. If you can just open up and open up at the right time to the right people, you just never know where your help will come from. But again, we can't say one size fits all because everyone's situation and stories are different. So it's about really understanding someone's perspective and their story and why they've decided to make certain decisions, and help them to the best of our ability that we can. But then at the same time, giving them the space to make their own decisions and seeing what works out for them.
Absolutely. And so you have a, company, you have a business, you're doing so many things. Did you find a challenge at all, in finding a relationship and finding someone that you felt, could be the leader in the relationship? How was that for you? What sort of personal process? What was your personal journey like?
Yeah. So definitely a lot of work in terms of understanding who I am and working on areas in my life that I was struggling with. So whether that was the list that I had, which I did speak about in the book launch, encouraging and reminding women that lists are great, but don't let that be the full focus on why you want to be with someone. It shouldn't just be about the external, looks of a man and what they can give, but ultimately what they have and what they stand for. So their character, their integrity, their humility, how gracious they are, how patient they are, how willing they are to support us as women. So there's a lot of things that had to be done behind the scenes. A lot of patience and also dying to self.
Mm.
Reducing the spirit of pride and, oh well, I want it this way because I believe I deserve this. And you know how us women can be, we can be quite flamboyant at times, which of course, to an extent, I do believe, yes, we do deserve to be treated like queens, which we are queens. But at the same time, we also need to be reminded that as humble women, we need to be focused on what a man can actually do at the time we meet him. And rather than critiquing, encourage and
Mm.
motivate and pour into, rather than, oh, I don't like this, change it. I don't like that. Let's try our best not to be as critical, because we know that the world already has their own perception of what it should be like to be a woman or what it should be like to be a man. But at the end of the day, what really matters is what you believe. Ultimately, it's what you believe. And I had to believe in not only working on myself, but positioning myself as the woman that I am to not only be found, but to also make sure that I'm working on areas in my life that needs to be healed. And I really want to add on to this, Candace, because sometimes when we want something, if we're not healed from a certain area, we will bring those cracks into another person's life. And that's something that I was very mindful that I didn't want to do. It's not to say that we're fully complete. I know wholeness is a process, but it's not right for us to bring our brokenness and our, vulnerabilities and pour it into someone else, because they also may have their own. So I'm mindful that, yes, I had to work on myself and also be around the right people. I mentioned it before to you prior, that having the right people has really, really helped this season of my life to really understand not only who I am, but what my purpose is in greater depth and what I can give back to our ladies, even our men who are also in the waiting season.
And so for you, was it easy for you to create that circle of friends? Were there, and I'm going to ask you a hard question, were there people that maybe weren't that you maybe had relationships with that maybe weren't the right people, that you had to, let go for a season, or maybe for, forever. What was it like to have, to create that circle around? Because that, while it sounds amazing, and I know exactly what you mean, it's not quite that easy to access.
That's such a good question. And what's coming to me was, even in my single season, I was really going through an analysis of the people in my circle. And at the time, I knew that there were some people that I just had to let them go.
Mm.
Not in a horrible way, but in a way where I had to be mindful of the people that were feeding me.
Yeah.
So how they made me feel. And when they were speaking, was it elevating or was it crushing? And there's an analogy that I really love using. It's those who feed you and those who need you. If those who feed you are lower than those who need you, then that's a problem, because you're getting a lot of people asking you to help them, but no one's feeding you, no one's pouring back into you. And that's one thing that I realized in the season that I was waiting. There were certain people that they just weren't feeding me the way I was expecting it to be done. But then at the same time, I realized that once that door closed, I was able to start receiving more people coming into my life that were in alignment to the season that I was in. So being in alignment to the season is very important. Having people that can stand with you and that can say, look, I've got you. I'm encouraging you. I'm rooting for you. I'm here for you. And you have peace. That's when I knew that things were starting to change for the better. So I really do believe that when you are in a season of transition, as the book rightfully says, transitioning from the season of waiting to intentionally courting, it really is about embracing the fact that some people won't go on your journey with you, and that's okay. We can't always give people a front row seat in our lives if they're not willing to pay the price. When we met together in 2020, I wasn't the same woman I was in that year compared to now. So much has happened, Candace. So much has happened, in all honesty. And now we're here. Who knows what the next 4 years will be? So it's just amazing to see that growth and the transition. Some people will stay, some people won't. But ultimately, what matters is that in every season and phase of life, there will always be someone that will stand with you as a confidant, as a trustworthy partner, as a best friend, someone that you can lean on. There's always someone out there that can help you if you're willing to open up your heart to receive that help. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful, so powerful. And I probably said that back in 2020. I was like, oh my goodness, for so, one so young, you have all this wisdom, and then, fast forward to now and to see the growth. I thought you were amazing then, and I think you're amazing and then some now. Just, how much you have poured into yourself and to others, and you've been intentional in the relationships and in the work that you're doing. And I think that's so incredible and so inspiring, and a reminder to all of us that it's possible. And yes, absolutely. And so I would ask too, because I always marvel when we get together and we have these conversations, and it's like, oh, I've just written another book. Okay, how does that happen? You're so busy doing other things. How do you devote the time and commitment to writing a book, uh, pretty much yearly, since 2016? And what is your process? Have you already sort of put it together in notes, and then you sit down to write? Is it something mentally you're creating these chapters? Tell us about your process.
Yeah, you've kind of touched upon it quite a bit, so thank you for that. But really and truly, it is about mentally positioning yourself to write a book, and that's from the perspective of understanding what the community is going through, and that starts from my own circle of friends. We have discussions about life, about work, and I tend to pick out on things that I can sense they may be needing support in. So when I think about society, pressure that we're in, particularly for the young millennials, it's a lot out there. A lot of distractions, a lot of pressure, a lot of temptations. And I use all these things to find a way to become creative, to give back value. But the one word that helps me is solution, being a solution orientator for others. And every book that has been written has started from my own personal experiences or what I've heard other people go through that can encourage them on the journey. So I don't just think of a topic and say, oh, I'm going to talk about this, or, okay, the sky is blue, let me talk about the sky. There's not really much I can say about the sky. But if someone talks to me about a really deep situation, maybe a family issue, or a confidence in building up themselves, or feeling low because things aren't working out, there are certain things that I can pinpoint and say, you know what, I resonate with that. And then I can find ways to cultivate my experiences and their experiences to bring them together to create a book.
And so tell us where we can find your book and how we can find you.
Definitely. So for signed copies, you can go on our website, which is www.authenticworth.com/books. And you can also find this book on amazon.co.uk.com and all the other Amazon platforms as well. You can also find me on my personal socials, which is Esther and Jacob, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And for the business, it's Authentic Worth with all the social media platforms, including TikTok, which is Authentic Worth as well. We've also got memberships for Authentic Worth Publishing. So for those who are looking to learn about book writing, building a business, learning about well-being, being around like-minded people, we welcome you. So you're very welcome to find out more information on www.authenticworth.com/memberships-join.
Fantastic. Final words, Esther.
Wow. Final words. I would say a woman knows her worth by the season of her wait. It's the waiting season that gets her prepared for what is deserved for her. She's someone that is willing to be expectant for what is to come. She's not in a rush to try and make herself known. She's constantly working on herself. She's constantly being a better version of herself than she was yesterday. And she is a woman of value. She is a woman of integrity. She is a woman on a mission and a woman on purpose. She is the becoming woman. And I encourage you, don't give up on yourself, no matter how difficult it gets. You will see that breakthrough, and all that you are desiring will surely come to fruition. So be expectant. There's always hope on the other side.